Fortnite Chapter 2, the GOAT of Fortnite and probably the peak of online gaming. You may say I'm glazing, but as much as I love GTA 5 for its story, I cannot say the same for its online mode. I'm sorry, but this shit is not peak. Now, I know I already made a video on Chapter 2 in its entirety, but listen, that video didn't have much structure to it if I'm gonna be honest, and I really did not go too deep into the analysis. I kinda just grazed the surface of each season. So I want to redo this video with my new content style, and it's gonna be much longer than obviously the first one that was only 9 minutes somehow, just so that I can do justice to this amazing chapter. But really, coming from someone who didn't really like Chapter 1 that much, Chapter 2 was a much better pace for me. I really liked how things changed a lot more and more was going on. I like this more complicated style of gaming and a lot of people don't, and that's okay. But join me as we look back on this amazing chapter and why it was so good. Now, coming hot off the press of Season X, although it probably didn't feel like that for a lot of the Fortnite kids out there, this felt like a fucking year for them. That black hole was really their #1 enemy. Now, a lot of people will hate on this season because it was very dragged out, and yeah, that is a reason to hate on it, but overall, it was pretty simple, which kind of confuses me because a lot of Chapter 1, at least the early parts of it, which are praised, are very simple, and maybe they weren't dragged out, but they weren't that fun, at least in my opinion, because of the simplicity. And I think this season took that simplicity and made it a little more fun to play with. But I just feel like this season is Chapter 2 on its base. Now, this introduced a lot of new things. It was kind of crazy how much came into the game. This was our first time getting a full new map, and Apollo is easily the best map we've ever gotten. It's a little bit better with all the upgrades we get, but even on its base, it's pretty good. The game looks so much more different than before. The graphics were really good, and I don't know why people don't like the new graphics. Some people don't, some people do, but these graphics are like 10 times better than Chapter 1's graphics. I'm sorry to tell you. We also got swimming added, and basically water as a main mechanic added, and it was much better to not have to walk through ponds and shit. There was an entirely new way to level up, and probably a better way to level up too, because before it was pretty hard to get through the battle pass. There was obviously the new upgrading mechanic, which they added the upgrade bench for. This could, help one of your guns get to a better rarity if you used a few mats. And later in the chapter, gold fishing was also added. There was new looks to the guns. I'm pretty sure they changed the editing a little bit. We got slurp barrels, a lot of new heals, and of course the boats to go along with the big water mechanics that we now had. Now, to move into the battle pass, going on with a simple theme. This battle pass is pretty simple, but it had a lot of S tier skins in here, I cannot lie. Alright, maybe I'm glazing a little bit, but there was a few S tier skins in here. They also have this cool alter ego thing going on, and I'll get into that in a second, but 8-Ball is still one of the best skins Fortnite's ever made. I don't care what you say, this skin is so clean, bro, just look at it. Turk and especially Riptide looked really good. Obviously they were simple, like I said, but they were just really clean, and Riptide really looks like the Solid Snake, the older version at least, that they have in the game now, which is kind of funny, but Ripley was the meme skin. He had everything going bad for him, and the rest of the battle pass was pretty good in general. And to go even further with the simple, the map was pretty simple at the start. Lazy Lake, very simple, but it had a very clean layout and it was super good to contest. Same goes for Holly, same goes for Craggy. Misty Meadows was the best POI this season. The layout was really good and also just looked really nice. It had this chill vibe to it, but there was warfare going down here, so don't get tricked by it. Weeping Woods is kind of nostalgic for me because I had a lot of good memories here, especially for later seasons, but even this season, it was just really nice to land here, and it has a pretty good loot, I cannot lie. Slippery Swamp is a really cool idea. The fact that Lake healed you, and also just the factory in general had so many heals in it. I could keep going and talk about every single POI in this map, but I'm not going to do that, so let's just move on to the loot pool. Now, the loot pool didn't have anything crazy going on with it yet. It would start to later down the road, but here we still have some pretty OG loot pools going on. The tack and the pump, which is objectively the best combo you can have in this game. The AR and the burst AR are some of the best combos you can have for 2 ARs in the game. I just think they match each other's style pretty well, so I'm happy to have these two also. The SMGs and snipers are also pretty solid, and later down the road we get lightsabers, and this was the first time we got really crazy mythics in game in Battle Royale, because obviously we got the Avengers mythics in Season 4 and Season 8. Overall, this is a really solid loot pool, and overall, this is a really solid season. It is pretty simple, and it definitely went on for way too long. I gotta be honest, because this is not the type of season you want to drag on. But other than that, it's really not that bad, and pretty overhated if you ask me. Now, to compensate for all the people that hated this season, which was basically the entire Fortnite player base because they just got sick of it after a while, Fortnite came back with Chapter 2 Season 2, which is one of the most loved Fortnite seasons, if not the most loved, and it's definitely my favorite by far. They put so much more care into this season than I've seen from really any other season in general, and not just that, but this season all around just had an amazing theme to it. This secret agent vibe, I loved it, bro. I think it really fits Fortnite's style. Not only that, but there was a lot of things that that are very important to Fortnite added this season, like one, bosses and henchmen. Obviously the season before this one had the Stormtrooper AI, which was kind of close to this, but the bosses just one-upped it in every single way. We had the new porta potty mechanic and the trash mechanic where you could jump in them and hide in them, and some of them would teleport you across, the POI or the map. Shakedowns were added, so if you knock someone, you could shake them down and see where their teammates were. You can now throw items like heals to your opponents, which was really cool, and they also added vaults, which after you kill the boss, you get their key card, you can enter in and get some really good loot. Now to move into the battle pass, this is one of the greatest battle passes we've ever gotten in this entire game. The Agent Bob just really, like I said, fit this game super well. We legitimately have some of the most iconic skins here, like Midas, who is the best skin in this battle pass and one of Fortnite's best skins in general. Miosos, who's super iconic, he's in like every single Fortnite trailer at this point. Agent Peely is literally the best version of Peely. I love how it looks so much. Maya was a really cool idea. She was super customizable, which I think was what really made the skin. And there's so much more I could go into, but I'm not going to. Deadpool was a really good secret skin, one of the best we've ever had, so I cannot complain about that. And now to move into the map, we had some very small POI changes, but they were really good POIs. To start off with the greatest POI of all time, the Agency, which was in the middle of the map, fit it perfectly. I love this POI so much, bro. The inside, the vents, everything about it, especially having Midas there as the boss with the drum gun. Now that I'm done glazing the Agency, the grotto was also really cool because it was inside this little cavern, like inside a mountain, I guess you could say, and it goes underground. The yacht was really cool, especially when Deadpool just took it over. I don't know why he had to kick out my schools like that, but a lot of the POIs that were introduced were in the water. I don't know why this happened, but it was pretty cool to have. I'm not gonna lie, because they were really putting the water stuff to use. And obviously the Shadow and Ghost bases that were all over the map. This was such a good addition, especially during the Shadow and Ghost war. And then for the loophole, we had a lot of unvaults, mostly the same loot as last season. But we also got the remote explosives back, and we got the umbrella the Kingsman added, which I thought was super cool to have. And then obviously all the mythic weapons, which were actually broken. They were just crazy, bro. And then quick off note, we got the chopper too, which I really like the chopper. It's one of my top 3 vehicles. But yeah, overall, this is one of the greatest seasons of all time. I really don't care what anyone says. I love this season so much for so many different reasons. But I really just think it came down to the pandemic. Everyone was bored, and it really helped pass the time. And I think this was the perfect season for them to add in during this. I don't know why I'm saying it like they plan on adding it during the pandemic. You know what I mean, though. Now, Season 3 Splashdown was a really unique and bold idea of them to, execute, and they did execute it very well. We had the new fire mechanic where you could just start making things burn, and I support arson. My bad, I got a little off topic there. We also got sharks added, which, should still be in the game, because I think sharks are pretty chill, bro. Like, where are these at? Whirlpools, Marauders, a whole new locker UI, which I think actually looks better, even though some people complain about it. And of course, half the map was just entirely flooded. Now, the battle pass was pretty good. It did trail off the theme a little bit at some points, but overall, they did a pretty good job with this. Ocean is the best skin here. They did a really good job with her. Fade also looks pretty cool, especially when he's maxed out, although I think I like him better without it. Kid Bro, my little rock star. He is the goat, so I have to put him on here. And just really good skins all around. And then before we talk about the map, I just gotta mention we got cars added, which are one of my favorite vehicles just behind motorcycles. I know that sounds kind of simple, but I don't know, the cars are just chill like that. The Authority was basically just an upgraded Agency. I don't think it was as good as the Agency, but it was pretty cool to see still in the season, especially after the map was flooded. Caddy Corner was pretty small, but it was a really good hotspot, especially with Kit's boss there. And I don't even really like the charge shotgun, but listen, if it's Kit's, I gotta use it. The Fortilla was super goated, and the only bad POI they added this season was Coral Castle. What even is this? I mean, I'm not really gonna complain about it because it's out of the way, but like, really, what is this place, bro? What is this POI? Now, the loophole was still good. They did take the pump out, but the tack was still in, so I'm happy as long as the tack's in the game. The charge was added, and I really just don't like this gun. I understand that there are some people that do like it because they have certain strategies with it. I just think it's kind of annoying, the fact you have to charge it up for it to do its most damage. It's just, I mean, I like the timing aspect, but I don't know. Big hunting rifle season, they were involted, and I thought they really fit the season well. I don't know if it was really just because of the season or hunting rifles are just good in general, but I just remember them being really good in the season. We had Kit's Shockwave Grenade Launcher, we had a Mythic Chug Jug, and we had Jules Grappler, which had a glider redeploy on it, because for some reason back in the day you did damage after you grappled away. I don't know why this even happened. And obviously the most important item added here, the cabbage. I mean, come on, bro, this is cabbage. It's kind of sick. Overall, really unique season, had a pretty good meta to it. I don't really see much people complaining about the season. I wouldn't say it's underrated, but I definitely say it's the least talked about of the favorite chapters that people have, but I'm pretty sure that's a good place for it. Now, I have talked about this season way too many times on this channel, so I'm going to try to go over this quickly because I don't want to run it into the ground. Now, to start off with the Battle Pass, really great Battle Pass. I think the roster of characters they chose were pretty good. There were a few misses, but I think that's more off the characters they chose. I think they could have chose some better characters, but mostly Wolverine. I love Wolverine, one of my favorite characters of all time, so I'm happy he's in here. Iron Man looks really good. They really cleaned him up, and I think he looks really well done. Doctor Doom, also one of my favorite characters, and he looks really well done. I keep saying that, but bro, these skins look super clean, and I'm just happy they made them look clean because I really love these characters, so I'm happy I can actually use them in game without, hating how the skin looks. And each one of these skins had their own little quirks to them, like a built-in emote or, a built-in glider, whatever, this and that, which I thought was sick because I think that's what really made this Battle Pass stand out, at least for me. We also had some incredible map upgrades. Stark Industries was really well done, super well laid out, and it had the Iron Man boss and his mythics, so you cannot complain about this POI at all, especially the fact that we got a vault here too, and an entire chopper. Another place with the chopper was Doom's Domain, which is the best version of Pleasant Park, and then Weeping Woods holding the greatest boss of all time, Wolverine. He would run after you, he'd be crazy, he did so much damage, and after you knocked him, he had the chance of getting back up after he healed himself. Now finally, to talk about the loot pool, guns kind of got pushed aside this season, although they were pretty well done to actually be able to contest a lot of the mythics here. Some of the mythics here were pretty overpowered, and it's good that we had a good loot pool to set them aside. Now for the mythics, Wolverine's claws were probably the best mythic they've ever added into this game. Good damage, pretty good mobility, it was just fun to fight with them, and they actually healed you, so kinda goated. Iron Man's mythics were so good to combo together. Venom Smash and Grab was super fun to troll with and really just fun to use. The fact it went through builds and then grabbed them was crazy. We had some really solid mobility mythics like Groot's Bramble Shield and Silver Surfer's Surfboard. Bro, I cannot talk. Surfboard. And there was so much more included here that I just can't even get into because I don't want to go on this season for too long. But one thing I loved about these mythics was the fact that they had their own game mode where you had 4 of them. You had your main attack, which was like Wolverine's Claws, She-Hulk's Fists, or the Gauntlets, either one of them. And then other special attacks like Thor's Hammer and stuff like that, which I just thought made this LTM super unique compared to the rest of them, especially with all the powers. Like, they really need to bring something back that's just like this, or just bring this LTM back, please. Also, this had one of the best Fortnite of all time, probably the best. The Ghost Endgame whole mechanic was super cool. I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but if you want to see something about it, go check out that video. And then, of course, the season ended off with a bang with the Galactus event, the best event we ever got in the Fortnite. I'm not just biased because I'm a Marvel fan, but I just really thought this event was crazy. It was just a great way to end the season. Perfect season in my opinion. S tier just behind Chapter 2 Season 2, and in some ways this overtakes that season. Now moving on to Season 5, which is one of my favorite Fortnite seasons of all time, and it's also probably the most underrated, maybe just under Chapter 4 Season 2, because in recent years, this season has definitely been talked about a lot more than a lot of other seasons. I think people are starting to notice how good it was. Oh, and it was also prime time for this brain rot.
Literally free, so free, kids on McDonald's Wi-Fi. Look at this kid, he has no earnings, literally no PR.
But overall, this season is still criminally underrated. I really don't think it's talked about enough, especially when you have people rating Chapter 1 Season 3 super high and then not even talking about this season. It's just wild to me. But the two main themes of the season are obviously that it was a bounty hunter type season, and then 2, the 0 point in the middle of the map. So going with the bounty stuff, they added a whole new mechanic where you could, get a bounty, and if you eliminated them, you get 100 gold. They marked them somewhere on the map in a general area, and you go get them. I thought this was pretty cool, and they made a whole game mode for it too, which is Mando's Bounty, which kind of matched it. It wasn't obviously the same exact way, but it was pretty close to how it works in the in-game. And these gold bars that you could get from getting bounties and really just all around the map would help you hire NPCs, which were also added this season, and you could buy the new exotics from them that were a new rarity for guns. And these guns I'm going to explain later, but you could also buy other stuff from them like heals, and I'm pretty sure you could hire them this season, but maybe not. That might be later on down the road. We also obviously had the 0 point in the middle of the map. It was kind of crazy how exposed it was because this guy was just trying to keep you out of it, but I could just jump in at all times. But it kind of just acted as a rift. And then also we had the new sand tunneling mechanic, which was really cool because you could sneak up on people, and it was really good in salty towers. Now this is one of the few times I'll say it was good to have a very messy battle pass with kind of a bear theme to it, because that's kind of the theme of the season. Jonesy went around getting a ton of bounty hunters, so he had Mandalorian, which is a great skin in here, especially when he's fully maxed out. Condor, my favorite skin in here, and still one of my favorite skins to this day. Mancake was really cool, especially with that mustache. Manus was really solid, especially when he was also fully maxed out, and even Predator was pretty cool, especially that he got his own boss, but I think he would have fit Primal a little better, especially considering the Abysmal secret skin we got in Primal, but we'll get into that next season. Now moving on to the map, we had some incredible map upgrades here. Hunter's Haven had an incredible layout to it. It had a lot of chests in it, which was really good for contesting. And it even had the IO guards in the middle, which helped you get the TAC AR, which is one of my favorite ARs to this day. And obviously it's just a simple like neighborhood layout, but the modern aspect of it really spiced it up. There was a lot of care put into Colossal Coliseum, and it just looked amazing. It was super big, a great spot to contest, a great hot drop. I don't know why people don't talk about this POI that much, to be honest. Salty Towers, like I said, is honestly better than Tilted. We got a lot of good upgrades here. There was a lot of places from previous seasons, so that was also a cool upgrade to it. But I think the best part was obviously the bosses, Mandalorian and Predator, and their special locations. And finally, to speak on the loophole, we had the lever, we had the TAC, which, by the way, bro, the lever is one of the best shotguns they've ever added. The exotics were really good. They were the same idea of a mythic where it would be the same gun, but a different version of it. But here they actually do it so much better because it actually had something different to it than just higher damage points. Like the hop rock duels give you 0 gravity, or the boom sniper would explode people. We had the lever action sniper rifle, which was amazing. It did like 75 damage, but it did like 180 headshot, and it was crazy. Even the mythics worked really well together. Mando's jetpack worked really well with the sniper, and even the Predator mythic, although it just made you invisible and didn't do much other than that, it was still pretty cool to have in the game, even though they've reskinned this thing like a million times by now. Overall, this season is definitely more experimental than the past 4 we've talked about, but I think most of Chapter 2 was pretty experimental, and I don't think it was that different from what Fortnite already was, but it definitely would throw some people off. Overall though, very underrated season, one of the best in my opinion. Now here we are, the worst season in Fortnite. First of all, we got animals added. I don't know why they added animals at all. There was no reason for them to be here. They just caused more problems. Like the wolves were so annoying. Raptors that they'd add later were super annoying. The new crafting ability was alright, but it also brought the makeshift guns into the game, so I really don't care for this either. Especially when Chapter 5 is doing the mods better than this season did the crafting, so I kind of just prefer that anyways. The battle pass was pretty mid. We did get Lara Croft, which I love Lara Croft, so that was cool. Jonesy was pretty cool. Raven was pretty cool. Tirana also wasn't a bad skin, but for some reason they added Neymar as the secret skin here, and I don't know why they did this, because listen, I'm not trying to hate. I don't really care for soccer. I don't really care for sports in general, so I would have been fine if they added him in the item shop, but why is he a secret skin in a caveman season? It makes no sense. I don't even care to talk about the map because the only somewhat good POI we got was the Spire, which also was pretty mid. It was cool under it, but it was just a big metal rod in the middle of nowhere. But not only that, bony burbs and colossal crops just like didn't really add on to the map at all, and the new coloring to the map just looked ugly as hell. Now the loophole wasn't the worst part about this, although it did have the makeshift weapons, which I think really brought it down. The primal shotgun was pretty annoying, but it wasn't that bad, and the makeshift shotgun can go fuck itself. The makeshift AR can also go do that, but the primal AR was a little overhated. It really wasn't that bad. The only good part about the crafting was the fact that I could get the TAC shotgun and the pump if I crafted it with mechanical, materials. That was kind of cool. Other than that, I didn't really care for it. The bows was probably the best thing they added this season because it was cool to, use them for different strategies like the boom bow or the shockwave bow. Other than that though, the loophole kind of lacked. Overall though, this is easily the worst season here, and not only that, it's probably the worst season of Fortnite. Now that I'm revisiting it again, this might be worse than Chrome. I'm not really sure. They're kind of even, to be honest, because there's pretty bad things about both of them. Alright, we are in the home stretch of Chapter 2, Season 7. Now, Chapter 2, Season 7 is actually pretty good. A lot of people didn't like it, but there's a lot of people who did like it. So it was kind of split, but I think overall, it's not one of the greatest seasons, but I would probably put it in my top 10. Because there were a lot of things going right here, and I do think the main problem with this season was the map kind of lacked. Other than that though, it was a really good season. Starting off with the battle pass, it was super on theme. They actually did a really good job here. Sloan was a really clean skin. Zig was a really clean skin. Rick was obviously a W, but they should have added him in the item shop because now it looks stupid when Morty comes back and not Rick. The rest of the skins weren't too bad either. Now going to the map, the only reason I really feel this lacks is because there wasn't much POIs on the ground. Sure, there was a spaceship in the air, which was really cool. I actually really liked the UFO in the air. Believer Beach was a great upgrade to Sweaty Sands. I already really like Sweaty Sands, but putting this in there just really made it so much better. The little cargo complex wasn't that big of a deal. I just remember it a lot and I really liked it. I don't know why. And obviously the IO bases, or really whatever they were, I can't really remember, all scattered around the map. I thought those were sick. They had UFOs there at some of them, and listen, I know a lot of people do not like the UFOs, but I don't think they were that bad. They were definitely annoying at points, 100%, but when you were in one, they were pretty fun to use. And even Holly Hatchery kind of shook up the game a bit, which I thought was pretty cool. And speaking of shaking up the game, this loophole did that too. Now listen, the pulse rifles, I don't really care for it. They were okay. But we got a lot of other space guns that kind of went crazy. The rail guns were crazy, the recon scanner was super helpful, and even the laser gun, which did a whole lot of damage and was basically aimbot, was kind of annoying. It was definitely broken, but it was cool to have too. And then I would say the best part of the season, in my opinion, was the fact that we got 3 of each gun, at least for shotguns and ARs. We had the lever, pump, and tac, which is probably the best 3 you could have in the game. So I just thought that was really cool. And the SMGs, we had like 3 of them too. We had a pretty solid loophole here, I cannot lie. And probably one of my favorite guns we got added was the plasma cannon. I think this thing was crazy and it melted through builds, did a whole lot of damage, and I'm pretty sure it was in Save the World at one point. Overall, a really well done season, and I think a great comeback from Chapter 2 Season 6, which really lacked, was really bad, and I don't think it was as good of a comeback as Chapter 2 Season 2 was, but listen, it's up there. Now here we are at the final season, Chapter 2 Season 8 Cubed, which honestly was not a bad season, at least C tier, but I would probably put it at a B tier to be honest, because there was a lot of redeeming qualities for it, but I don't think it was that good of a finale season. I think there were some qualities of it that definitely could stand as a finale season, but I just don't think it was good enough to be, especially for a chapter like Chapter 2. To start off, a lot of new things got added, at least a good amount. We got the monsters added, which was pretty cool, I cannot lie. They're from Save the World, and they put them in the game, and I really like these. It did shake up the game a little bit, and I think it went with the season's, sad theme of the world getting destroyed. We also had all the cube stuff. We had that little purple trail that like brought you around the map if you went in it and you started flying around. I don't really know what it was, but it wasn't bad. Armored walls were added and crows were added. I'm pretty sure in this season you could kill a crow and get a weapon, but that might be later on down the road. Now the battle pass was extremely messy, I cannot lie, but maybe that was the theme they were going for. I'm not really sure. I just don't think it looked too good off, posters and shit like that. But Charlotte was really clean, especially with her second style. I use her a lot. Tuna Fish is the most customizable skin of all time, at least I'm pretty sure he is. Coral was absolute heat, bro. The hair and everything, especially her second style, really stood out to me. And even Carnage looked really good in my opinion, but I probably wouldn't use his skin. Now I feel the map here they also got pretty lazy with. The Converge or whatever it was called was alright, it was a nice idea, but it looked a lot like that shitty POI from Chapter 3 Season 4 with the, metal, whatever, I don't even know what it was called, the chrome stuff. And I just think it kind of lacks here too. The pyramid was really good looking though, and it did remind me of the Lord of the Rings, so that was kind of cool, but also it didn't really stand out to me. And that goes for most of the POIs that changed or got added this season. They just didn't really stand out. It was pretty lackluster. But this loophole does make up for it, and I think the only bad part about this loophole was one, most of the sideways stuff was pretty boring. There was one good thing which I'm going to get into, but also they took out the tac. But we did get a lot of other shotguns, so I'm not going to complain about that. Because obviously we got the lever, pump, combat, and the charge. Take the charge out and put the tac in, we don't want to see that. We had so many ARs, and I kind of wonder if they added all of these weapons in on these last 2 seasons because they knew they were going to start doing this thing where they kind of just changed the weapons and never really added the original version back, which was really annoying. They need to stop doing this. I just want to see the tac and the pump in the game again as their base versions. But to stay on topic, the flintlock was added back. We also got the sideways scythe, which was pretty cool. I love melee weapons in Fortnite, so I'm not complaining about this. Not to mention Carnage and Venom's amazing mythics. These were super good. They reminded me a lot of the Venom smash and grab. And even the Naruto mythic, it definitely was a little lackluster, but it was fine. It was a good trailway into the anime stuff that we're going to start adding to the game. And of course, everyone's favorite things, mechs were added back with the sharpened carts and golf carts, which was cool. I mean, I don't really hate the mechs that much. They were definitely annoying, don't get me wrong. They definitely pissed me off at points, but they weren't that bad. And I actually think Season X is a little overhated, but we can save that for another video. Overall, pretty solid season. I really liked that it had a lot more going on with it, but it just didn't hit me the way the other seasons in this chapter or just in general hit me. So I gotta put it a little lower, but it's definitely not that bad. Like, it's definitely a B tier in my opinion. After looking back at Chapter 2's highs and lows, you can really see how much, its highs outweighs its own lows. Not only that, but also just the highs of most other chapters. I really think that these highs and peaks of Chapter 2 are some of the best things we've ever seen in Fortnite. In my opinion, Chapter 2 was not only able to innovate what Chapter 1 did, but also revolutionize it in a lot of ways, while also taking its own spin on the game and kind of changing it forever, because I feel like Fortnite now is much different than it was in Chapter 1. I don't think that's a hot take, but I think Fortnite in Chapter 2 is what really made a name for Fortnite and what it was going to be in the future. and I think it stayed consistent to that whether you like it or not, and I really think that's why chapter 2 was so great. But maybe we're all wrong and chapter 5 is the best, because at the end of the day, nostalgia is measured more by memories and not time, and I think that's something a lot of people forget. But that could also be another video, because I think a lot of times, they'll be like, you can't be nostalgic for something like chapter 4, but yes you can. You can be nostalgic for something that happened yesterday. So at the end of the day, we always have to look at it like maybe you are just being nostalgic. I do think though, if you really take a look at it and be as objective as you can, chapter 2 really just comes out on top.